Alright. Okay, let's start from the beginning. Okay. With some, I wanna karate kick it. I'm throwing up everything, throwing up everything. Alrighty, okay. Shall we? Shall we just do them and review them? It'll make it a lot easier, so I don't have to do a bunch of reviewing afterwards, and I can just get. Okay. Early urban societies could not have been maintained without large-scale farming nearby. Early urban societies could not have been maintained without large-scale farming nearby. Okay. No. Why does it need to be nearby? They couldn't have gotten it shipped in. Doesn't have to be nearby. This is because other methods of food acquisition, such as foraging, cannot support populations as dense as urban ones. Sure, but like large-scale trade can. Large-scale farming requires irrigation, which remained unfeasible in areas far from rivers or lakes until more recent times. Okay, well, for one, we don't need. Yeah, I don't agree with this. We don't need large-scale farming nearby. We can have it pretty far away, and just ship everything in. And early urban societies, what does that even mean? Like early urban as in like 2,000 years ago, early urban, or early urban as in like 200 years ago, or 100 years ago? What does early urban even mean? Which one of the following is most strongly supported by the information above? Okay, so this is a must be true. This is something that the author basically just said in the passage. The author must agree with this, right? No. It's actually, well, okay, they didn't say anything about this. Large-scale farming requires which remain unfeasible in areas far from rivers or lakes until more recent times. Okay, well, yeah, we don't know where people lived. We just know that they lived in urban areas, and that was pretty far away from farming. Let's say. Okay, I don't really understand this answer. Let's move on. In early times, it was not acceptable. In early times, it was not possible to maintain urban societies in areas far from rivers or lakes. I feel like this is a trick answer. Urban societies with farms near do not have to rely upon irrigation to meet their farming needs. Okay, well, saying that. Okay, if we're assuming earlier urban societies could not have been maintained without large-scale farming nearby. Okay, they can't be maintained without large-scale farming. And what do you need for large-scale farming? Let's just say farming. Without farming nearby. Farming requires irrigation, which remained unfeasible in areas far from rivers. Okay. Irrigation is unfeasible in areas far from rivers, far from water. I'd say C. Yeah, okay. So yeah, it's pretty clear logic. Early urban society could not have been maintained without farms nearby. And farms require irrigation, which is not possible in areas that are far from water. So any urban society cannot be maintained if it's not near water, because it needs water for farming, and farming is what allows it to be maintained. Okay, cool. Alrighty. A country's rapid emergence from an economic recession requires substantial new investment in that country's economy. Okay, so if you want a country to come out of a recession quickly, then you need a lot of investment in that country's economy. Makes sense. Since people's confidence in the economic policies of their country is a precondition for any new investment. Okay, it's a big assumption. Since people's confidence in the economic policies of their country is a precondition for any new investment, countries that put collective goals before individuals' goals cannot emerge quickly from an economic recession. Okay, well, this is assuming that the collective goals would not give people confidence in the economic policies. Like, if an economic policy is like good for the people, you're assuming I won't think it's good for me as an individual. Yeah, that's what I said. Okay, so I predicted this. Yeah, okay, I know this. I don't even need to review it. The average length of stay. Man, I don't know why it took so long on this section. This was the whatever. I'll figure that out later. The average length of stay for patients at Edgewater Hospital is 4 days compared to 6 days at University Hospital. Since studies show that recovery rates at the two hospitals are similar for patients with similar illnesses, University Hospital could decrease its average length of stay without affecting quality of care. Okay, hold on. The average length of stay for patients at Edgewater is 4 days compared to 6 days at University Hospital. Okay. Since studies show that recovery rates at the two hospitals are similar for patients with similar illnesses, University Hospital could decrease its average length of stay without affecting quality of care. I like C. I like E too. Okay, the reason argument. Okay, what is my? How would I criticize this? Let me see. Okay, the average length of stay for patients at Edgewater. Okay, I like E because why would you want to, let's say, be taken care of and just immediately kicked out instead of being given that like margin, like here, stay for an extra day, see out, make sure you're feeling good. I feel like that ties into like quality of care. No, like take an extra day, see how you're feeling. Take 2 extra days, see how you're feeling, and then you can head home. Mm. Oh my god, this is so obvious. Yeah, it was C and E. That's Let's see what Nate says.
Prep test 52, section 3, number 16. The average length of stay for patients at Edgewater Hospital is 4 days compared to 6 days at University Hospital. Yeah, so what? Since studies show that recovery rates at the two hospitals are similar for patients with similar illnesses, I can see the flaw comment. University Hospital could decrease its average length of stay without affecting quality of care. No, you don't know that because even though recovery rates are similar for patients with similar illnesses. You don't know what the mix of illnesses is that these two hospitals treat. So the problem is, if University has more heart replacements and Edgewater Hospital has more, I don't know, something.
Okay. Oh my god. That was like my 100% on everything. That was like the first thing that I was thinking of. Like, oh, okay. What was going through my head? It was like, what was the question that I was asking? Okay, basically, I was saying like, what if one of these hospitals is like better or seen as the better hospital, and whenever there's like a more serious condition, people go to this hospital rather than Edgewater. Like, for example, whenever it comes to any sort of like chronic disease or cancer, people come to the U.S. Um, we have the best. We have the best healthcare for the most serious conditions. So that's really what I was thinking about. I should have just stayed with that.
It's simple. Ingrown toenail surgery. Yeah, they both do both surgeries, and they have similar rates of recovery for similar illnesses. But it's possible that Edgewater gets all the easy cases and University gets all the hard cases.
Mhm.
The bulk of, Edgewater gets less of the hardest cases, University gets more of the hardest cases. That would fully explain why the average length of stay is longer at University. It does not have to be anything about quality of care and that they're just keeping them there unnecessarily long. Yeah. Toenail takes 1 day at both hospitals, and heart replacement takes 3 weeks at both hospitals. University gets more heart replacements, that's why the length of stay is longer. So this argument makes no sense because it doesn't talk about the mix of incoming cases at the two hospitals. The reasoning in the argument is most vulnerable to criticism on the grounds that the argument what? Did it A, equate the quality of care at a hospital with the patient's average length of stay? No, I didn't do that. In fact, if anything, it did the opposite of that. Because it said, hey, you're keeping people in the hospital for too long, you don't need to do that. You could reduce the average length of stay without changing your quality of care. So that's not equating those two things. B, did it treat a condition that will ensure the preservation of quality of care as a condition that is required to preserve quality of care? No, it did not compute sufficient for necessary. I'm never going to be surprised if that's the answer. I would have seen that coming a mile away. It didn't do that. Did it C, fail to take into account the possibility that patients at Edgewater Hospital tend to be treated for different illnesses than patients at University Hospital? Yes, it did. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Maybe University gets more of the tougher cases than Edgewater does. That's probably going to be the answer. Does it D, presume without providing justification that the length of time patients stay in the hospital is never relevant? Nah, it doesn't do that. Never there is much too strong. You can't fairly say that they did that. That accusation just doesn't stand up. You can't accuse them of being describing. Does it E, fail to take into account the possibility that patients at University Hospital generally prefer longer hospital stays? What the patients prefer has nothing to do with it. The answer is C, because maybe University is more of the tougher cases.
I understand. Philosopher Graham argues that since a person is truly happy only when doing something the best. Wait. Graham argues that since a person is truly happy only when doing something, the best life is a life that is full of activity. Okay, well, a person is truly happy only when doing something, maybe doing something meaningful. The best life is a life that is full of meaningful activity, not just random activity that no one cares about. Like, what makes you think that they're going to care about everything? You have to put some parameters around it. So doing something meaningful. The best life is a life that is full of meaningful activity. But we should not be persuaded by Graham's argument. People sleep, and at least sometimes when sleeping, they are truly happy, even though they are not doing anything. Okay? Well, how do you even know people are happy? Okay, what is the role played in the philosopher's argument by the claim that at least sometimes when sleeping, people are truly happy even though they are not doing anything? Okay, the argument of the philosopher is that Graham's argument is wrong. And his reasoning, or the premises that he uses, it's a premise, yeah. No, it's not a premise of Graham's argument, it's a premise of the philosopher's argument. It's an example intended to show that a premise of Graham's argument is false. Maybe. It's an analogy appealed to by Graham, but it's an example intended to disprove the conclusion of Graham's argument. No, it's not the main conclusion, it's a premise. Okay, so Graham's argument, or the conclusion, is the best life is a life that's full of activity. Hold on. When people are sleeping, they're not doing any activity. They're not doing anything. I'm not gonna say to show. I'm gonna say disprove. I like the word disprove more than show. And I don't know if it's showing. Okay, this is a good distinction. Is it going against the premise or the conclusion? Because what is the conclusion? The best life is a life that is full of activity. I think it's going against the conclusion. But it could also be going against the premise because it's talking about people are truly happy even though they're not doing anything. I'm gonna say this is attacking this part, this premise right here. Yeah, okay, good. That was good.